Hi, my name is Darius Farazande. I'm an energy healer. Also, I run New Wealth Revolution, which is a global self-growth, consciousness, and healing community. And I'm also an evolutionary leader. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on with our consciousness and awareness right now in November, and particularly November 11th, as this is 11/11, which is a huge energy portal and opening, and particularly our energy as it relates to the elections that happened in the United States and what people are going through in some different perspectives. A lot of people are asking, what does this mean? How did it happen? How are we going to evolve in this state? And I'd like to present some different possibilities, some different outlooks. The first thing that we can do is we look around the world right now and we see so many people coming up and protesting, gathering, voicing concerns, feeling like there are things that they're not satisfied with because of the election results. We can actually be feeling very blessed about that. Because what you have is a lot of people around the world actually coming forward and saying, we don't like certain things that the president-elect said. And we could get into, of course, what was specifically said, but that's a tangential argument. What really is important for us to stay on the higher vibrational plane and really understand it and bring in healing is to be grateful that humanity and people are concerned about what was said and how it may affect other people. So when you see all of these demonstrations and gatherings, provided they are coming from that place of concern rather than just wanting to create turmoil or moving in massive fear or anger, if they're coming from that place of concern, that is a beautiful sign that the planet has that concern. And so the most cool thing we can do is begin from that state. The second thing we can do is be really clear on your feelings. There are a lot of people that are scared, that are concerned. There's also people that are glad, or that feel like, okay, my voice was heard. But what does it mean for you? And that may mean unplugging from devices, social media, collective grids of energy that tend to be very strong right now. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the polarizing energy as well, because as 11/11 is such a great vortex, this polarizing energy may get stronger over the next couple days, and it may be important for you to unplug from that. And really feel into that. Are you fearful? Are you one of the people that feel like it's a good step? And just be present with that. You don't need to change it. You don't need to really work on it. Spend some time in your feelings. No need to suppress it. It's a beautiful thing to be in touch with your feelings and be present. That being said, there's also a powerful thing you can do to ask questions about maybe what's good in this situation that we're not seeing. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, because spirit is in everything. Balance is where the divine exists. The polarity of the mind, the polarity of ego, being in fear or even in absolute euphoria, as the planet seems to be divided, or the US. Some people are very fearful and angry, other people are glad and euphoric. Really, truth is always right in the middle. And one of the things that I think is so critical right now is for us to release the energy of the fear grid on the planet. When we bring up fear-based ideas or ideologies, or we tend to aggregate towards some of those fear-based interpretations. For example, the fear-based interpretation that, this was something motivated by class or race or gender, then we are effectively promulgating the fear grid on the planet. We're strengthening it. This is the same fear grid that's existed for eons, that has held down humanity. And regardless of whether we believe this was started by one actor or some things that were said, it's our choice to decide, do we want to keep holding that fear grid in place, or do we want to release it like a hot potato? Because what we resist, we persist. Mother Teresa was asked during the Vietnam War if she wanted to protest the war, and she said, no, I will not protest the war, but I will walk for peace. So what are we walking for if we're frustrated, if we're unhappy? Well, we must walk for love. And fear and love are not going to exist in the same frequency. So if we put forth the fear-based ideas, and you'll see the mainstream media, and I'll be very honest, you'll see the mainstream media certain segments plugging into that fear-based ideology. And you have to be very clear to know that that actually is part of the control system on the planet, that is breaking apart, that is being revealed in a lot of big ways to have created a lot of falsity and also a lot of energy that has controlled humanity. Now, the third thing I think you can do to really get into the balance is ask yourself this question: what is it that I'm not seeing? What is it that I'm not seeing that would allow me to be joyful in this moment? And I could name many things. For example, the protests. People are protesting, and maybe it's because they really care about their fellow human being. Isn't that an amazing thing to see that many people mobilize for that purpose? Maybe it also means that it's possible that we may see massive reform. We may see some big things coming forward. That's something you can be joyful for right now. It may also mean that a lot of people who are really concerned about the process, or who realize maybe the elections weren't, the system wasn't really working that well to allow a multitude of voices and personalities to come forward, that things definitely need to change. For example, you have Donald Trump, right, who is a very strong personality, had a very strong presence, had a lot of money. He was not funded in the primaries by anybody. He had to self-fund. Is that right? That you need that much money to actually be able to come into an election and do well? So again, if he's able to do that, could that open the door maybe for people like another Bernie Sanders or another Jill Stein to come forward? Remember, Jill Stein, Gary Johnson, they weren't even allowed in the primary debate with Hillary and Donald. So is that system going to be changed? It's very possible, because a door's been opened here, something very historic. That's something we're not seeing. I compare it very much to this idea of looking at a movie. And if you pulled the movie reel off the projector and you looked at one still frame on the film, and you based the ending that you think the movie is going to conclude with based on that one frame in this film, you would miss the whole point. You'd miss the whole movie. And you would, in essence, create the ending that you don't want. So I ask people to stay in light and love. And lastly, maybe recognize that evolution is not a straight line process. It's not always going to be what you expect or what you want. How many spiritual teachers and leaders, or how many people that plug in to the message of our communities and this idea of transformation, how many of us wanted change? How many people probably would agree that the current Bush and Clinton dynasties, if they would have continued, maybe really it's kind of the same energy, right? We wanted something different. We wanted some change. And for some of you may say, no, this isn't the change we wanted. But Spirit has many different ideas. And how many times in your life have you gone through maybe a divorce, an illness, a setback, a job loss, and in that moment you thought it was the absolute worst thing in the world that could have happened to you? Yet your greatest growth came from that chaos and then moving into that order and understanding that it was for a purpose that you could not see in that moment. Sometimes things like this are like that. If anything, just to allow us to plug into our own shadow and fears. And so the fifth thing I would say is plug into that fear that you feel and listen to it and ask yourself, where is it? If there's things that I really don't like about a person, maybe the candidate or president-elect, or maybe some of the candidates. If you are really excited about Trump's win, maybe look at Hillary Clinton and say, what are some of the things that maybe I really don't like about this person that are making me more exuberant about this other person, President-elect Trump, that maybe I have done in my own life? If I feel like she did something bad, where have I done that? Maybe it's at different degrees, but where have I done it? Similarly with Trump, if you feel like you don't like him because he said bad things, right? Have you ever said anything bad in your life or disingenuous to anybody, even when you were younger? And the more we can do this, the more you can actually take whoever you're looking at or whatever you're looking at in your life from the pit or the pedestal, as Dr. John DeMartini says, and actually hold them in a balanced state of divine love and understanding. And the more you can do this, the more your energy will move from exalting one person to the top of, the mountain, and on the other hand, dropping somebody into the depths of, the swampland. And you begin to see people in the middle basis, which is the way that Christ would see, or the way that Spirit truly sees. And that will balance your perspective. So then you can actually make choices on what you're seeing and what you choose to actually feel in this moment. It's so important to realize that we control the ship. We control our future. And in essence, your future, your truth, your power is not driven by who's in the White House or who's, running a country. Your divine source, your connection is through spirit. And that channel is between you and your creator. And so it's also a really great thing. There's so many takeaways here. It's like lessons upon lessons. But another great takeaway is, how much power are you putting into those people in the leadership structures of the planet as actually having huge impact in your life? I mean, if you feel that that is so much of a factor in your life, then you may be displacing your power and not putting it where it truly needs to reside, which is in your own essence, in your own heart, and in your own divine connection to your creator and your creative essence and your creative self. And I think this is another great lesson. So there's so many lessons here. I would ask you, be present to what you're feeling. Stay in love vibration. Don't cover your feelings, but don't get tied in to the massive earth grids of fear and anxiety and worry, because most of the time the truth and the highest vibrational point is usually in the middle. And I love you and I honor you, and I know you're an amazing being. And maybe the real question is not who got elected, but what are you going to elect to do with the rest of your life? Because ultimately you are the God creator and you are the one that can change the world. Much love. It's Darius Barzande. Thanks for listening. Leave your comments below. If you agree with me, that's totally fine. If you don't, that's totally fine. There's a lesson in all of it. Much love.